Hey everyone, it's Gianna Vita, and my research paper was The Disturbing Truth About Dairy Farming. So, first of all, what do you know about dairy farming? Do you know what dairy farming is? Do you consume dairy products? And if you do, how often? Do you know how your dairy products are made? And what is your opinion on dairy farming? Maybe you don't even have one yet, but just kind of think about those questions for a minute or two, and then you can keep going with the presentation. So, my thesis is the dairy farming industry must be reformed by going back to traditional farming methods and using more ethical treatments on cows. This would create a better dairy market, improve the lives of dairy cattle, grab control of environmental concerns, and also make products safer for consumers. It's kind of a handful, but this whole process of dairy farming is really complex. So here's an overview of what my slides are going to be like. These are all kind of main ideas, and within each of those main ideas, they're going to be broken down into a few slides to further explain. So first, we have the process of dairy farming, health effects due to inhumane conditions, environmental effects, traditional versus factory farming, counter argument that someone can propose, and then we have my call to action, my self-assessment, and then my works cited. So first of all, the process of dairy farming. On the left is just a picture of new technology where the milk gets sucked out of the cow's udders. So to start the process of dairy farming, a cow needs to get pregnant. And this happens through a process called artificial insemination. It can get pretty graphic, but we're keeping it PG in this presentation. So basically, farmers insert a bowl of semen into the cow. Fun fact, I didn't know this before I started doing my research, but cows are actually all females and bulls are all males. So I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't know that before. Um, but so yeah, that happens. And then obviously the cow gets pregnant and gives birth at the end of that pregnancy. When that pregnancy is over, the child is taken away, and in a few months, this whole process of artificial insemination starts again. This is to keep lactation going constantly, and this information is all from a website called Farm Sanctuary that gives really good information about the processes involved in several different types of farming. Here's a picture of a farmer who is getting ready to start the process of artificial insemination on a cow. As you can see, he's got his glove on. But it is a very unethical treatment and really exploits cows. So then, as I mentioned in the previous slide, there is a separation between the mother and the child, and they are completely torn apart. And this is an especially crucial time for the child to be with the mother because the child needs to get the nutrients from the mother's milk and be comforted by the mother. But farmers take these children right away because they know that if the cows were left with the mothers, they would drink their milk. And the farmers don't like that because they want to make money off that milk, which that is extremely inhumane to do. Um, but at the end of this, girls become dairy cows and boys are usually sold to the veal industry. This information is also from Farm Sanctuary, and on the right you can see a picture of a cow running to her children who are being taken away by a farmer. These cows and their children can literally scream out for days because they just want their mothers so badly that their throats become so scratched where they can't make any noise anymore. So this really is a brutal separation, this is why the whole process of dairy farming must be reformed. Then we have health effects due to inhumane conditions. So one of the main reasons for these health effects is that there's no grazing area and cows are living in such close proximity to each other. These cows are put in stalls with no room to graze or roam. So they're basically confined to one space. They live on concrete floors, and because they are so close to each other, feces and urine collect. This information is all from Grant Lingle, who is a Sentient Media co-founder, and Sentient Media is a nonprofit news organization that reports on animal welfare and rights. So because of the conditions that are mentioned in the previous slide, cows can develop hoof diseases. As you can see in this picture here, the hoof is split. It doesn't look like that usually, and it's not supposed to. And it's because these cows are left on concrete floors rather than being able to roam in the grass. Because of this, they can actually lose their ability to walk and they can develop extreme joint pain. Um, and obviously, that's not good for a cow. Um, and they shouldn't be treated this way and left in these conditions. Furthermore, one of the other diseases a cow can develop is mastitis. Mastitis is the inflammation of mammary glands and udders. As you can see in this picture, that is not normal. And this is due to the fact that cows are put through constant milk production over and over and over throughout their entire lives. And essentially, what is the cows are producing in their milk because of this disease is pus and blood. And that is literally the same thing that you pop out of a pimple. And because this disease is so common, the FDA actually allows up to 750 million cells of pus per liter. Um, and that's from Joe Loria, who is the U.S. campaign manager for meat reduction, and he focuses a lot on the Animal Protection Act. Um, and so I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is so disturbing. I wonder how much that means for a gallon. So I actually calculated how much pus cells would be in a gallon of milk, and it is approximately 3 billion, which this is not making safe products for humans to consume. This needs to be changed. Like, we need to be consuming products that don't have diseased tissue in it. And then we have bacterial infections. Like I said, feces and urine collect on the floor and goes on all of the cows. They're just all in each other's disease. So this can actually break down and weaken the hooves of cows, and they can develop bacterial growth within their hooves. Obviously, once again, this is very painful for a cow, and it's not easy to walk or stand on. So what are farmers doing about this? Essentially nothing. They're using water to clean the cows, and it's such a big waste of water because they aren't acknowledging the real problem, which is to be expanding the area and allowing cows to behave naturally and normally. But instead of doing that, they just use water and don't use proper techniques to keep these cows safe and in a good environment, which is not okay. Next, we have environmental effects. So basically, cow manure is a huge part of pollution, and it is because of all the nitrogen and methane within that manure. Uh, Elizabeth Grossman, who is a scientific author who writes about environmental concerns and wildlife, says that this is detrimental to the Earth's atmosphere and it'll become irreversible someday. And especially when cows are in such close proximity and there's so many in one space, as you can see in this entire picture, it basically is the equivalent of a factory putting out smoke into the air. Then we have water runoff, which is another type of pollution. But Laura Drury, who is an author at Bright Maize, which Bright Maize is an agricultural company that focuses on plant production and dairy farming, she says that this cow manure gets washed away by water, whether it be rain or the water that farmers are using. But it contaminates water sources because it travels with that manure in it to water sources, which can become toxic over time. So this is why farms need to be reshaped as well. Then we have Cowspiracy, the Sustainability Secret, which is a documentary that touches on the effects of animal agriculture. Here's actually a video from this, and it shows the extinction species that is because of livestock. Okay, so that just shows how this animal agriculture really affects the environment as far as the Amazon, which is really crazy. It's a really interesting documentary. I highly recommend it. It just kind of shows perspective on all of it. So then we have traditional versus factory farming. Traditional farming is like your classic farm. It has a lot of grazing area for the cows to roam in, and cows are able to live normally as they should be. Dr. Christoph Schultz, who is a researcher on agriculture and dairy consumption, says that in traditional farms, cows are fed more healthy food and farmers spend more. They spend more money and more time to try to make the farm suitable for their cows and make them feel safe and like they have a purpose. Rather, in factory farms, they have very small stalls, and their only purpose of the cows is to produce milk. Again, Dr. Christoph Schultz said that in factory farms, these cows are fed hormones to make them bigger and produce more milk, and these farmers are spending a lot less because they just don't care, and they don't care about getting the proper resources. So here's a counterargument that someone can say. You can say that factory farming is efficient and provides greater profit, where I guess that is correct. It is more efficient, but it's not humane. It's not treating animals ethically or treating them right. And also, these farms are not providing the best product for consumers. As we said, these cows can get diseases. These cows can get sick. These cows are not left in proper conditions and are not fed the right things they are supposed to be to keep them healthy. It's very cruel. So here's my call to action. You don't have to go vegan or vegetarian to show your support on this topic. Rather, you can just be aware on what you're consuming and know who you're supporting. And you can make a change in your lifestyle that includes cutting products that test on animals and participate in animal cruelty from your life. These are all companies that don't test on animals, and these are all companies that do. And most importantly, the government needs to stop factory farming. It is not okay the treatment that these animals go through for profit. These farmers are money hungry and do not care about their animals because all they want to do is produce and get profit. There needs to be a change so that animals can live to their full purpose and feel safe where they are. I know they're animals and I know they're different than us, but they still can feel the same pain and hurt. And as humans, it is our duty to help them and protect them, as they're one of the most sensitive groups in our society that cannot protect themselves. Here's my works cited. Thanks everyone for listening. Hopefully you do think more about this topic as it is really important. Um, and hopefully you can make a change in your life that's positive. Thanks. Bye.